My name's Jane Keddy and I work for Hanson Partnership, who've prepared the Mildura East Growth Area Strategic Framework Plan on behalf of Council. Hanson's been working on this project for a number of years with our partners at SGS Economics and Planning and E2 Design Lab, who are experts in stormwater management. The draft plan is currently out on public exhibition. Public exhibition periods are really important in allowing landowners, agencies, community members and others with an interest in the area to review the plans and provide comment and feedback before Council adopts the plan and it's integrated into planning policy. This video provides a walkthrough of the document. The document's divided into 3 key sections, providing an introduction and background as well. The introduction section just explains why the plan's needed, which areas are affected, and the process that was undertaken in developing it. Importantly, for this project, the process included the development of a Vision and Key Directions report, which was exhibited and then subsequently adopted by Council, meaning many of the elements of this plan have already been agreed. It also explains that the role of this report is to set the framework for this area, but that further, more detailed planning work will need to follow. The study area is shown on this plan, but the Vision and Key Directions report established that only some of this land is likely to be required to support projected growth. The report includes some important context in terms of the demand for different land uses and housing, as well as the separate planning processes which have already been undertaken for areas like Irimple and Nichols Point. Part A of the report is a framework which starts with reiterating the adopted vision statement and also identifies how the plan will respond to the key challenge of climate change. It then provides some additional detail under 4 key themes, which include the identification of objectives which are being sought, specific strategies proposed to meet those objectives, and a spatial plan, which shows what this means for different areas. Each of these themes includes an introduction, which takes in some of the relevant issues and talks to how the plan has responded to those. The Land Use, Activity and Interfaces framework, shown here, reflects the existing key directions, which identified a series of what are called development cells. These development cells are where growth over the next 30+ years can be anticipated within the study area. Things to note about this plan and the associated objectives and strategies include: there are 2 types of residential growth to be accommodated: conventional residential development, shown in the pink, and some areas where larger lots of over 1,500 square metres will be developed to help support a diversity of housing options and reflect the considerable interest in these larger lots in the Mildura context. Given the identified development cells will accommodate decades worth of growth, the remaining land is identified as a non-urban area to ensure that there's clear direction for how that land can be developed to support both landowner and council decision making. The plan also identifies the preferred location for identified light industrial needs and how interfaces will be managed. There are no new activity centres or areas of commercial development identified, as the growth area is essentially building on existing communities. An investment is instead directed to improving the quality and capacity of those existing facilities rather than establishing new activity centres or community facilities. However, the plan does include a series of local nodes which are associated with areas of open space within each of these neighbourhoods, and they are the preferred location for any non-residential or community uses identified via the next stage of planning. Strategies address the sub-themes of land use, interfaces and buffers, including how the plan addresses existing uses like the concrete batching plant, community infrastructure and sense of place. Further discussion is also included around the non-urban area and also community needs. The Development and Infrastructure Framework Plan addresses the critical issue of stormwater management and the staging of development, which are closely interlinked. As with the previous theme, this begins with an explanation of some of the issues and responses, including discussions around dwelling diversity and details of how the identified demand for dwellings in the area matches with the proposed capacity of each development cell. Importantly, it also confirms the preferred staging or order of which these cells will be rezoned to facilitate development. The potential lot supply of the cells is identified for the first stage of development, which are cells A, B and D for residential and cell J for light industrial. And it shows that this proposed capacity far exceeds the identified demand. But this is a recognition of the reasonably unique characteristics of this area given existing development. Stormwater management is a really important issue for this area, and the associated stormwater management strategy should be read for more detail. The plan identifies a series of very large stormwater management areas will be needed to support development. Rather than looking at setting this land aside and not being used, the plan looks to the development of these areas as key focal points for communities, encompassing wetlands as retarding basins alongside designed overflow areas which can function as community open space when not needed to hold water. New local parks and playgrounds can be developed on land alongside these stormwater overflow areas to create seamless open spaces for the neighbourhoods. The largest retarding basin is located in the northwest corner and is proposed as a regional parkland, given the prominent location, scale of the basin and lack of larger scale public open space in this area. The Landscape and Environment Framework Plan includes an objective to deliver net zero and climate resilient communities and to establish a network or web of green corridors through both existing and new neighbourhoods, as well as corridor connections between these new neighbourhoods and key destinations. The plan also supports Council's urban forest strategy as a key plank in improving climate resilience of this area, given the predicted increases in temperature. The web of green spaces shown in the plans include canopy corridors along Sandilangi and Coolong Avenues and 11th Street, which include significant consistent canopy planting with a shared user path along one side and a more natural biodiversity planting on the other side with more informal tracks and a focus on local species. The further development extension of the Irimpool linear forest and the creation of a new linear forest at the interface between light industrial areas and the residential and community uses along Cowra Avenue is also shown. A series of pedestrian pathways which are vegetated to provide shade and amenity and which connect identified local nodes and open spaces across the different neighbourhoods are also included. The inclusion of edge roads which focus on the use of planting and vegetation to establish and manage the interface between future residential areas and the non-urban areas is also shown. The proximity of the area to the Murray River has informed the approach to stormwater management identified in the previous chapter. Strategies address sub-themes of green corridors, biodiversity and public open space, with more detail provided around canopy corridors, the integration of stormwater management and open space, and the proposed regional parkland. The last theme addresses access and movement. The study area already has an established grid network of streets and avenues, and as such, much of the consideration regarding vehicular movement is likely to be considered at the development plan stage. The strategies suggest criteria which should guide the development of these networks to support relevant objectives. The focus of the plan is on how active transport opportunities can remain attractive in a changing climate. Key strategies and things to note include the identification of intersections which require further investigation, the clear identification of key destinations, and the network of green movement corridors identified in previous themes. The plan also advocates for the development of a shared path along the railway alignment, creating a direct connection between both the existing Irimpool community and the new neighbourhoods to Mildura's CBD. A service road is proposed as part of the interface treatment between the light industrial area and sensitive uses, but the plan is not anticipated to lead to any additional heavy vehicle movement. The next section of the report, Part B, provides more specific direction for each of the identified development cells. This includes confirmation that a similar planning process should be undertaken to existing development areas. This process includes the application of a provision called a development plan overlay, on land as it's rezoned. These development plans should include clear direction for what the plan needs to do and what should inform it, as once it's in place, development can proceed as soon as council's approved a development plan. It's therefore important that the framework provides clear direction for what these development plans should do and what types of material council might need to make an assessment of their alignment with the framework. Suggested content for any new development plan overlay is included in this chapter. And then there's a summary of neighbourhood specific considerations that each development cell might need to think about, including key considerations that need to inform the development of a development plan. Associated plans are also included, but these will need to be refined as part of the next stage of planning, which will include discussions with all landowners as well as other interested parties. The last section addresses implementation and talks through the proposed approach to land use transition, how existing controls which relate to the Mildura older irrigated areas will have their own controls and will need to be adjusted. It talks to the approach that should be taken to dealing with industrial interfaces given the potential for conflict, and to the monitoring of development in this non-urban area and adjustments to controls to reflect it's no longer part of the growth area. This section also talks to how existing open irrigation channels could and should be addressed as development in the area intensifies, and provides commentary on how council might approach the use of development contributions, which are often critical to making sure that appropriate infrastructure, including community infrastructure and open space, are provided alongside housing. SGS Economics and Planning, who have significant expertise in this area, have provided this content. The report concludes with a table which identifies a series of actions that council should take in implementing the framework plan and how these all work together to deliver the identified outcomes. This exhibition period is a chance for everyone who's interested in the future development of the area to provide council with their feedback. While it's important to understand some aspects of the framework have already been agreed, like where the development cells are, how we implement the plan can really be supported by robust feedback. And don't forget to tell council what you like too, so those aspects can be prioritised. Thank you.